the old farmhouse in Willow Bend because, honestly, I didn't know what else to do. After the divorce, everything in my life felt too loud, too crowded. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating right, and every corner of my old apartment reminded me of someone who wasn't there anymore. So I convinced myself leaving would fix something. Maybe not everything, but something. The house I ended up with looked like the kind of place you inherit from a great uncle you barely remember. Peeling paint, porch that groaned when you looked at it, windows clouded over from years of dust. But I liked it anyway, or maybe I just needed to. Behind the house was a field, long, quiet, and a little eerie in the way empty places always are. And way out there, near the edge where the corn thinned, stood a scarecrow. I noticed it immediately. It leaned a little. Its burlap head looked like it had melted in the sun years ago, and the clothes were so weathered they didn't even have colors anymore. Just this gray-green shade of, I've been here too long. Bo, my dog, stopped dead when he saw it. Just froze, ears straight up, tail rigid, a low growl rumbling out of him like I'd never heard before. "It's just a scarecrow, buddy," I said, but Bo wouldn't budge, not even with treats. I had to carry him across the yard. If I were smart, I would have taken that as a sign, but at the time, I just chalked it up to Bo being weird about new places. That first night in the house, I slept harder than I had in weeks. Not well, just hard. Exhausted bodies collapse whether they're ready or not. Somewhere around 3 or 4 in the morning, I woke up. Not because of a sound, not because of a dream. I woke up because I couldn't move. It felt like my whole body had been cemented to the mattress. I couldn't lift my arms, couldn't turn my head. Even my breathing felt shallow, like something heavy was sitting on my chest. Then I heard it, a slow creak from the hallway, the kind old houses make. But this one felt intentional, measured, like someone was walking just outside my room. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. I tried to shout for Bo, but nothing came out. I couldn't even twitch my fingers. And then, just as suddenly as it hit, the paralysis broke. I sucked in air like I'd been drowning. Bo was standing on the bed, staring at the hallway, shaking. I got up and closed the bedroom door. I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, coffee in hand, I looked out over the field. The scarecrow wasn't the same. I don't know how to explain the difference, just that it was different. The head was tilted the opposite direction. The rope around its waist looked tighter. One arm hung lower. I told myself I'd remembered it wrong. People remember things wrong all the time, but Bo wouldn't even step off the porch. And that bothered me more than I admitted. The sleep paralysis came back the next night. This time, it wasn't just the pressure or the inability to move. There was sound, breathing, slow, heavy breathing right on the other side of the closed bedroom door. I tried to swallow, but my throat wouldn't respond. The air turned cold enough that I could see my own breath, and a smell drifted in. Wet hay, like the inside of a barn after rain. When I snapped out of it, Bo had wedged himself between the dresser and the wall. I sat awake until sunrise. After a couple more days of trying to settle in, I realized something else was wrong. Every time I walked toward the field, I got sick. Not just anxious or uneasy, physically sick. My stomach twisted, my chest tightened. Sometimes my vision went blurry, and the scarecrow always looked a little different than the day before. Fuller, straighter, almost like it was standing taller each morning. One afternoon I tried walking into the field. My knees buckled after a few steps. I threw up before I could get back to the yard. Bo avoided me the rest of the day. I wish I could say I understood what was happening, but I didn't. I just felt like something was wrong with the land itself, and I was only starting to notice. The first truly strange thing happened when I drove into town for supplies. I figured a hardware store run might clear my head. Fresh air, fresh people. But the moment I stepped out of my truck, every dog within earshot went insane. A shepherd in the back of a truck bared its teeth. A lab on a porch snarled. Even a tiny pug started growling like I'd personally insulted its ancestors. People stared, made space, whispered. Inside the store, an older woman looked at me, really looked at me, and said quietly to her husband, "Animals know before people do." I carried those words back to the house like a stone in my stomach. By the next evening, I was barely sleeping at all, and when I did, the paralysis yanked me back awake in seconds. One night, I woke to the sound of something dragging across the porch. A slow, scraping sound, like thick rope being pulled over wood. I heard footsteps after that. Heavy, deliberate footsteps crossing the hallway. The bedroom door creaked open an inch, and a long shadow stretched across the carpet toward my feet. It stood there, not moving, not breathing, just existing in a place nothing should have been. When the paralysis let go, I almost fell out of the bed. A neighbor stopped by later that week. He didn't step inside, didn't look me in the eye. He just said, "You might want to think about moving on before he gets used to you." I asked him who he meant. He didn't answer. He just walked away. I didn't even try to stop him. The final night, I didn't exactly fall asleep. I think my body just gave up. I remember sitting on the bed, rubbing my face, thinking I should turn off the lamp, and then I wasn't thinking anything at all. I woke up to the sound of footsteps on the porch, deep, dragging footsteps, pulling something behind them, something heavy. The temperature dropped hard enough that my breath fogged instantly. I tried to move, couldn't. Tried to shout, nothing. The front door opened. I heard it move down the hallway, boards groaning under weight. The bedroom door slid open just a few inches, and then it stepped inside, the scarecrow, except it wasn't swaying in the wind. It wasn't sagging on a post. It wasn't lifeless. It was standing in my room, a full shape, stuffed limbs, a rope dragging behind it. It bent toward me, then it grabbed my ankle. I slid off the bed like dead weight. My shoulder hit the floor. My head smacked every single stair on the way down. I tasted blood. I couldn't control a single part of my body. It dragged me into the yard, across cold dirt, into the field. The scarecrow post loomed above me like a gallows. It lifted me with no effort at all, tied my wrists to the cross beam, stuffed straw into my sleeves, my shirt, my mouth. I couldn't breathe around it. And then, as if someone flipped a switch, the scarecrow's body collapsed, just fell apart. But its shadow didn't. The shadow stayed standing, tall, still, impossible. It stepped out of the collapsed figure like a person stepping out of old clothing. It came toward me, slow and certain. It placed a hand on my chest. The cold hit harder than anything I've ever felt, and for the first time, I understood something that should have terrified me more than it did: the paralysis. It hadn't been fear. It had been shaping me, teaching me how to go still the way the scarecrow had for God knows how long. I felt it in the dirt, the way the ground recoiled the moment the scarecrow's body hit it. Whatever was inside that thing wasn't meant to touch the soil, not for long. It needed a body ready to take its place the second it stepped down, and I realized too late. I'd been trained for this. The shadow sank into me, deep, complete, final. My body went quiet, too quiet. By morning, the field looked normal. If you didn't know any better, you'd think nothing happened. But neighbors driving by noticed the scarecrow, standing tall again. New posture, new clothes, new tilt of the head. "Looks just like the last guy," one of them said. Their truck rolled on, and in the field behind the old farmhouse, I stood perfectly still on the post, breathing only when the wind let me. The scarecrow's shadow was gone, because now it wore me instead.